Hey, what's going on, guys? Coach James here from Orange City Gresham in Oregon, here to give you Tuesday, December 19th, strength and endurance workout breakdown. First thing to note for you, there are going to be tread cards for this workout, so make sure those are printed, set aside, and ready to roll for the morning that we open up. To talk about our 3G first, we have a pretty big setup. Communication is going to be a big factor in today's workout as you get everything in the forecasting and then kind of let them ride through the remainder of the block. We have a buy-in to begin with a 1-minute push and a 1-minute walk at 8% incline on those hills. That is for power walkers, joggers, and runners alike. With this buy-in, think of it more of like a primer setup for what's ahead. Our walking pace isn't necessarily power walking. It might be somewhere in that 4 mile an hour range or less, maybe even more recovery for some folks. But this is where where the big focus of the day is gonna sit thereafter we get to the top of our hill. The treadmills are going to clear their screens once they get their next countdown to start a 4-minute tread for distance beginning at that 8%. So they're walking up to essentially start running down that incline. Every 0.1 on their distance, they'll decrease by 2%. Power walkers every 0.05, they'll bring it down 2%. And the goal is really to get as far as they can in that 4 minutes that they have allotted at the other half of the block. If they find themselves getting at 2% before time runs out, they'll actually bonus and linger with a tread for distance at that 2% incline. And at the end of their block, they'll look at their total distance. Block number 2, they're essentially gonna match or beat that as they climb back up to the hill. They'll have the same buy-in, push to walk at that 8%. You're gonna let them know they have a 3.5-minute tread for distance to chip away, just because the last 30 seconds will be a flat road all-out finisher. Of course, rounding out a total of 4 to match or beat their distances on the treadmills. With the rowers, they have 2 blocks as well. They're both gonna be attacked a little differently. Block number 1 is gonna be a 300-meter row where they're gonna wanna count their strokes, how many leg drives it takes to complete that total distance, somewhere in the 24 to 26 stroke per minute range. When they finish, they'll move into a medicine ball movement, get a little active recovery in, and then just rinse and repeat, trying to match the amount of leg drives or get it done in fewer as they move along. Letting the water work for them is a great cue to let them know, hey, slow down your returns, be aggressive on the leg drives. That way we can find ourselves potentially doing it in less strokes than before. For row block 2, they're going to be utilizing 300 meters still, but actually utilizing stored programs. So let them know to plug in their distances, and they're going to be ramping up their intensities across 100 meters at a time. A 100-meter push row, 100-meter push to all out, eventually leading to that all out 100 meters to round out a total of 3. Within that space, they're going to remember the time that it takes them to finish that, probably about 90 seconds or less before they move into their medicine ball movement again to facilitate a little bit of recovery, and then try to match or beat the time that it takes as they ramp up their intensity. Again, with strength on the mind, strokes per minute is going to be a big factor with utilizing tempo within that. About 24 for the push, 26 for the push to all out, 28 or greater for the all out itself before they land that finisher at the end, 30 seconds. The weight floor side. Again, a lot of communication to set themselves up. This is where the endurance starts to hit on the weight floor side. Block number 1 is going to be a back-to-back. They have 2 separate rounds they'll complete before they combine the block as one if any time remains. The rep counts actually aren't that high as far as endurance days are concerned, but they're a lot more on the complex movement side of things, a lot of moving parts. So I'd encourage you to set your members up with light to medium weights, working on full range of motion, understanding what they're asking their bodies to do within that block's time as you kind of coach them through it. On the second block for the upper weight floor, circuit is going to take over, right? It's a little bit more self-paced. There you'll see 16 reps on all movements, but they'll be decreasing by 4 reps across 3 rounds. If they get it done before time, they'll have a bicycle crunch as a bonus exercise to essentially rep out until the finisher, in which case they'll choose one of their favorite movements from the circuit for their last 30 seconds to work on. That's it for the 3G. The 2G has a very similar setup, just rearranged a little bit, right? Treadmills opening block, 4 minutes is pure primer. They're gonna be utilizing their small builds and intensities, base to push, push to all out, and all out, all for a minute apiece to get their body a little extended warm up before they lean into those same incline blocks that they have there on the 3G side. They get a 1-minute walk buy-in. Again, don't want to overemphasize that walk as if it's part of the distance, because they will clear it as they start moving downhill, but more so priming the lower half to understand, again, what that incline is going to feel like as they have a little bit of a hinge into the treadmill, shortening their stride because we're so high up. When that 4-minute countdown sets, clear screen, every 0.1, they're decreasing by 2. Every power walkers, every 0.05, again, decreasing by 2% until they get to that last 2% range, in which case they'll tread for distance. There's 3 additional blocks like this, and they're all gonna be match or beat total distances. Of course, as they make their way into block number 4, that's where the 3.5-minute tread gets cued for that all out at the very end to then round out your final 4 minutes. Weight floor side, block number 1, about 11 minutes long. It's similar to the back-to-back you see in the 3G. We're gonna add some additional exercises. Reps are still low, moderate that weight selection. That way they're getting the full range of motion and all the benefits out of those more complex movements before they move into their first row block. Now, when they transition, that communication again is going to be clear with a 300-meter countdown. They'll utilize that same kind of ramping up intensity, 1-minute push to all out row, all for 100 meters, and then they'll recover and do it for time. So there's no medicine ball movement, although it's going to be similar to that 3G row block as well. Finally, with the circuit, they'll move into those 16 reps, 4 less for 3 rounds, and then picking their favorite from that second floor block as their finisher. So with that being said, there's a lot of moving parts. You can kind of see how communication is going to be a big factor on the day today with having tread cards, a lot of different stuff between blocks on the rowers and the weight floor. So getting them set up is going to be huge at the beginning, and then you can kind of just let them go. I see this as a great opportunity to really focus on that orange eye on the weight floor, giving them as much personal one-on-one cues and corrections as possible. Of course, shouting out and congratulating those that are doing a great job and achieving their match or beats on the treadmill. Get your music loud, be ready for a good class.